around the world, it's absolutely fascinating. Oh, okay, so what leads to this is actually the convergence of technologies, which is not just anymore looking at AI or robots or blockchain or other new exponential technologies. It's really the convergence of all of them together in terms of biotech, etc., to really define absolutely new areas of growth in absolutely exciting fields. So if you're thinking about the growth curve, just looking at some of the history, it's absolutely exponential. Also in terms of Moore's law, and I'm sure you already had an intro session about that exponential growth curve and how the attributes also contributing to this. I'm not going into much into detail, but I will focus more a bit today really on the industry that is relevant to you. So just to have an outlook on, let's say, the cycle of washing, how it started off manually versus where we are today. The last picture you see is actually like a washing machine from Xiaomi that you can now install on the wall. Also here fitting to the purpose of, in terms of small spaces in that case, which is often also restrained. But it's not just in terms of technology, there's new innovations coming up. If you're thinking about how do we cater to different needs, because there are different circumstances in areas where there's no electricity or lack of water. So there is still new innovation, not just on the technology side, but new innovations coming up, catering to new needs around the world. Of course, on one side, pedal powered if there's electricity, but as we saw actually last year during COVID, there was an absolute high increase. The biggest innovations coming out of Africa last year was actually in terms of solar powered washing machines to also try to fight the spread of COVID-19, to really help hygiene in that case is more. There was a lot of competitions of different universities. Actually, solar powered hygiene installations was one of the key things that actually came out of last year. So I want to talk a bit about fabrics of the future. Also a bit going more futuristic here. Some things that we have already heard of, and there's recently a lot of Kickstarter campaigns, is the future towels. For example, self-cleaning and fast drying, odor-free, for example, the antimicrobial bamboo fibers with the polygene silver treatment. So there's a new trend of having new fabrics in your towels, but also in other garments that you have at home. So what we also see though is that plastic and environment and also climate change, one of the biggest drivers also in the industry, impacting the development of new materials. So for example, just to put it a bit in numbers, plastic bottles that take between 450 to 1,000 years to decompose. There's more than 1 million bottles purchased every minute around the world, and only around 7,000 of those are being recycled, probably even less. And one of the biggest impacts is also, of course, ocean pollution, fish, what we are consuming with the fish also for us, and also aquaculture and seafood in the future being one of the largest food providers for our planet. So plastic is a huge problem to tackle that actually a lot of industries in the apparel industry are already trying to tackle. So one thing is eco-friendly clothing. So there's one campaign, I think it's from, not sure if it's Australia or New Zealand, but it's a Central Pal towel. Of course, it comes also with the marketing aspect that they're using plastic which have been recycled in order to make those. And on top of this, they're also donating 10% always to charity. And also, if you look at the comparison for recycled polyester in comparison with other materials, for example, it uses 90% less water, less energy, has a lower carbon footprint, even in comparison to organic cotton. So there's really a big trend in the industry now. Further, it doesn't stop just at the fabric itself, but also what are the materials that you're using? So the same company that makes those towels, they're also creating beach shorts and other kind of apparel. And they're also trying to use alternative materials instead of plastic, for example, making dots and making the buttons out of carosa nut. And out of this carosa nut, one tree can already produce more than 2,000 to 3,000 buttons per season of the tree. So there's also a lot of new material coming out of sustainable material from nature. There's a new trend also when it comes to recycling, minimalizing the waste. It's incredibly important because, for example, 10% of the global greenhouse emissions, they actually come from the apparel and footwear production. A lot of this is disposed in landfills, And overall, also, it has like a huge carbon footprint. So the new trend also, if we're looking into circular economy, closing the loop together, a lot of companies like H&M and other companies are coming up with recycling programs where you actually, let's say you donate, don't donate, then you bring back your old clothes. And for the clothes, you're actually getting a credit, for example, to then purchase fewer new clothes with them for like a discounted price. Further than that, blockchain, I'm sure many of you have heard of, new technology, primarily also with the benefit of transparency. Transparency is widely used now with blockchain in the fashion industry. From one side, for example, to really see the whole value chain for the end consumer, to bring in the data really into the hand of the end consumer so they can make knowledgeable decisions. For example, tagging the clothes with the blockchain tag, they can really see from the beginning who made the yarn, what was the value chain, what was the CO2 footprint actually, how sustainable is this material and what I purchased, and who did I help at the end, and the farmers, did they benefit of this? Were they maybe not treated well? So it really brings a lot of transparency into the full value chain. Another example is the Circular ID. It's another company, also blockchain based, where you can actually see with the tagging who made my fabric. So this is an example from of actually a company in India focusing on organic cotton and also organic dyeing techniques, where you can actually, through the tagging, really see where does the yarn come from. But on top of that, not just where does it come from, it's primarily made for powering circular practices, so others can recycle the garments effectively. So it's really in order to close the loop for recycling in the future. Another good example and really industry leader in the field of circular economy is IKEA. Even though they're focusing more on furniture and other areas, I still would like to mention them because they're really setting the standard and a lot of the initiatives that they're driving. They're also involved in textile recycling, but primarily they're also setting the standard for new initiatives. For example, now in terms of furniture leasing, they're very focused on sustainable energy. For example, they're having rainwater harvesting facilities, geothermal heating, etc. They're in some IKEA stores, for example, one in London, in Greenwich, they're having now community gardens. They're having different workshops where they're teaching people how to upcycle and repair products, how to reduce waste. And they're even teaching certain programs to kids in partnership with other schools, in terms of teaching them what is the right amount to use for food, energy, water, so they really get the understanding on the impact that they are having on the environment. And all in all, IKEA really sets the standard in terms of having a carbon negative footprint in the future. I would like to mention this because at the end of, in terms of how company, so if someone would like to jump in? No.
No, we're good.
Okay, in terms of besides how a company, what materials they're using, consumers are more and more aware in general what initiatives are the companies standing for. Also Apple uses primarily recycled materials. It has a very big impact on the end consumer, what kind of products they're purchasing in the future. So that's something also to keep in mind from the corporate side. If you're thinking about sustainable fashion, we already talked a bit about the plastic waste problem. So one industry leader here absolutely is Adidas. They created the shoes in partnership with Parley, for example, because they're supposed to be by 2050 more plastic than fish in the ocean. And with this trend, I think they created millions of shoes already. And they're really setting also an industry standard here, how to rethink the value chain and really also inspiring others in the industry now. Now there's like plenty of products we can see, like beach shorts, as we saw towels before, a lot of other items which are actually made out of recycled plastic. They also won an award for this jacket. It's like a future craft loop anorak, also made by Adidas. And here also rethinking the value chain actually. How can they reduce certain items from the value chain, which means from the value chain, taking things out in terms of the process. For example, they are not using any colors to dye it. They're not using any additional things like zippers. It's actually a one-piece anorak. And at the end, it's really about bringing more value to the whole value chain in general. So also about thinking, where do we make things more simplistic in that case? And lastly, on like the environmental side, it's not just within fashion, but there's also a lot of initiatives. For example, this is Print Your City, was piloted, I think, in Greece, where out of collected garbage, they repurpose it for 3D printing to then, for example, make furniture that can be used in parks as well. If you're thinking about more futuristic fabrics beyond like recycled plastics and odor-free, etc., there's a very new trend for performance dress clothing, actually. So for example, there's one shirt company, it's Ministry of Supply, but there's plenty others, but they are actually marketing that they really developed this with MIT and NASA scientists to have fabric that's way more breathable than organic traditional cotton. It regulates your temperature. It can be stretched in various directions. One of the biggest factors why people are drawn to this is actually the non-iron wrinkle-free fabric, especially people who travel a lot. So they really understand the value of saving times. But even people who don't travel at home, it's very rare that people do enjoy the ironing practices. And there's more and more fabrics in this industry where you can absolutely avoid ironing. Like, I don't own anything anymore these days, which you have to iron. Like, I'm very careful in terms of the fabric in this case. Saving time, and time is precious at the end of the day. Then further, this is a bit more artistic, experimental. That it's an artist, I think, from Scandinavia. They are now experimenting actually with lab-grown living fabric. For example, this is an example from algae-based biomaterial. And this fabric, it will transform over time because it will react to things like temperature and other features from nature. But then over time, it will reach this glass-like material. And when it will be soaked into alkaline water, it will be actually decomposed. So it's not something practical to wear these days, but there are experiments in the industry also to work more with biomaterials. And if you're thinking a bit more futuristic, but not that far away either, is nanotech. So there's a lot of new materials which are actually mimicking, our nature. For example, there's a lotus effect, which is actually now a product that can be applied for say, home furniture, which then, for example, repels dust, and you have to use less water for cleaning. There's also shark skin inspired spray, also for large surfaces, but also nanoparticles, which can be worked into our clothes, which also in the future will use less water and detergent because there will be more self-cleaning and regulating in that case. And if you're thinking a bit further, another big trend is the customization and the on-demand culture that we live in today. So for example, my shirt, beyond that I wanted wrinkle-free and order-free and all the other benefits that come with this, also that I can these days easily online customize it completely. I can choose the width of the collar that I would like to have, the color of the collar, the fabric, absolutely everything. And it will be shipped probably within 1 or 2 days, and it will be in your inbox after, of course, it has been produced, because there's still this lead time involved here. But also, for example, for Nike, where people could actually, and it's still possible online, you can actually manually change the color of your sole, the design of the shoe, and will also be custom made for you. And a lot of companies, they're riding on this customization wave, that they're also creating contests around this in terms of contents, a new design for the cola bottle, or the new design for the IKEA cuddle animal, which was actually launched where kids drew their favorite animals, and the winners, they were actually produced, and now they're mass sold in stores. This is the dinosaur that you can see here. 3D printing, it's also a huge impact in the fashion industry. Like these days, with a 3D printer at home, you can actually print an entire fashion collection. So on the right side, you can see some of the examples which have been 3D printed. They're not that comfortable to wear that yet though, but there is a new sector that really focus on 3D printing. And there's new materials which are coming up which have other benefits or might be becoming more comfortable. MIT is working a lot on this to have a flexible fabric. This is, for example, already used in the medical field a lot. For example, surgical mesh, as well as for surgeries, that they're having certain things which are 3D printed from flexible fabric. So there is a growing demand. There's also other materials which then cool down the wearer. It's the University of Maryland who creates this. NASA experimenting a lot with this also in terms of 3D printed materials for space. And it doesn't stop at the fashion industry. 3D printing has another huge impact, of course, in the other sectors with the flexible fabric, which is not that comfortable to wear yet though, but there are other things which can be created. For example, on top, you can see a lamp, and even the lamp, you can see the interactive material, like if you press them together, the light turns on and off. So it actually has the sensors integrated. It's used already in the sports industry, for example, for badminton, but you can also make a lot of decorative lace already in this. Like the benefit of 3D printing is that is really the opportunity of shapes and sizes is absolutely endless. And with the right printer at home, you can also test anything in miniature format before it also goes in big production. I would say that one of the biggest factors of 3D printing to understand is the opportunity of the marketplace and how this will drive business in the future. For example, Shapeways is a very good example. On Shapeways, it's a 3D printing platform. You can either upload your own designs and you can then choose the material should be printed in and will be like shipped with you in a very short time. But you can also use this marketplace as a business platform. You can actually upload designs in different categories, furniture, not furniture, jewelry, gifts, anything. And other people just have to print it and you will always get a share of the profit. So for other people, let's say, who don't have the skills, the design software skills that you still need for 3D printing, there is marketplaces where you can these days buy anything. And the creator in that case always will also get a share. But if you think about 3D printing, it's not just in terms of devices and fashion, it's literally anything in the future. People in the future most likely either have a 3D printing facility in their local retail store or maybe even at home, and they can print anything with a push of the button. It can be a jewelry piece, but then you need the right material, but it can also be your customized vitamin pills, for example. There's new tests which are testing which are for example, the vitamins which you are lacking. And then with your 3D printer at home, you can print anything with a push of the button, if you think a bit more futuristic. The challenge here is still the storage of the different ingredients that you also have to have at home in that case in order to print anything that you would like to print. If you come back a bit more to futuristic textiles, there's another example. It's here. They are really like setting the industry of like a tone in the big industry. For example, air purifying textiles. So these are curtains that IKEA brought on the market, and I think they worked together with actually a Swiss company. It's air purifying material that absorbs the odor, but also other pollutants. For example, I cannot barely pronounce that, I just call it VOCs, and other pollutants that it directly like pulls from the air. And even the World Health Organization predicts that even indoor pollution causes more than 4.3 million deaths. So indoor pollution is a huge factor, and in certain areas around the world, even a bigger factor. There's a lot of material, like machines you can already buy that are purifying the air, but it's also now a bigger trend in textiles that this can be easily implemented into fabrics. And beyond purifying, of course, and we're also going into antiviral. It's another company, what's actually the same company in Switzerland. They even won the Innovation Award last year. It goes back to this very old known system that you have silver fabrics, etc. But they're also implementing this into masks and other surgical items, which actually has been proven to reduce also the COVID virus. So there's also a big factor in the antiviral fabric segment. The future fabrics, though, our future clothes will have multiple of sensors. We probably already all know like smartwatches and other devices we can wear for tracking our vital signs. But there's a lot of companies on the market where you have even sensors integrated in your sports clothes and your sport bra. There's a company that has different sensors in your yoga leggings. So you can actually, with an app, measure also the posture, not just your vital signs. There's also a yoga mat, which has the sensors integrated, which also tracks your posture and gives you direct live feedback within the app. And there are socks also having sensors, which actually helps to prevent diabetic foot injuries. So there's more and more in the medical field of sensors which are integrated in our clothes as well. And one step further than this is like a full body suit. I think it's called the Tesla suit, where you have haptic feedback, which is used for performance training. This suit can even measure your stress level to really prepare you for very stressful situations, for example, being a firefighter, and it's used in that case. Someone should in the industry to actually help you with like a full body haptic feedback to prepare for those situations. So the future of sensors in clothes and garments is absolutely endless.
Lina?
Yes?
Can we just take a question?
Sure, please.
Yeah. So Arvind asks us if there is Arun, request you to mute, please. Arun, kindly mute, please. So we have a question. Is there any way to produce natural fabric with zero water and zero chemicals, artificial chemicals?
Good question. Not that I know of, not yet. That I know of. There might be, but not to my knowledge.
Right.
Because it's not just the fabrication. You always, if you look at, let's say, if we're using water, to consider the whole value chain, because where's the fabric coming from? And even if you use organic material, it also needs watering in the first place. Mm-hmm. So you have to consider the whole value chain for anything.
Right. In the chat, one of our coaches has posted that there is a Trent. Would you like to come off mute?
Sure. It still requires water, but it's a very different process and a different intensity of water usage compared to, typical growing techniques for normal materials.
Right.
That's for nanolose. It's a cellulose generated or microbial generated cellulose that they then process through into more conventional materials such as rayon.
Right. Thank you for that. And thank you for posting this, Trent. Amol asks us next, is any work done on plasma processing of textiles?
Honestly, that I don't know.
Right. Would anybody else like to take this question? Any of our coaches? If not, we'll park it and let Alina continue. Yeah, let's continue, Alina.
Sure. We can always have more questions in between or afterwards. So if you're thinking about the smart fabrics, why this is setting the trend, it's very consumer driven. People are being these days more and more mindful about their health, wellness, leading from not just the steps that I take, but my sleep patterns, my nutrition, absolutely everything. So it's a very, very consumer driven trend that people want to be more aware. How can they live a healthier lifestyle in general? So there's also different technologies and innovations on the market. One thing, for example, on the sleep side, like fabrics that can cool down your mattress, as well as different sensors that do track your sleep patterns. I do recommend on the right side, it's the Oura Ring. It's one of the best trackers for sleep, actually, to give you insights into your sleep. But you also have it for babies, either in a mattress, like a thin blanket, or that's like a sock that you can actually put on the baby's foot. But Also, in order for parents to be more restful, that they are automatically alarmed if there are any irregularities in sleep, in breathing, etc. There's a huge demand to have more tracking and wherever it can be implemented. Mindfulness also is not just in terms of sleep, but also, let's say, meditation, being mindful in general. We're going into the era of neurofeedback as well. On the right side or left, wherever you look at, it's the Muse headband. I'm also using it. It gives you actually real-time feedback based on your brain waves. If you're focused or not focused, if your mind is wandering, it will give you feedback, let's say twitching birds or whatever kind of feedback you're choosing to actually bring you back and help your mind to come back into that calm state of mind, as well as different sleep masks that either have brainwaves included for either focus or sleeping, different neuro-generating music, light therapies, endless gadgets, again, in the mindfulness space. Also, sitting is a new disease, as people say. I'm not sure how many of you are standing or have a standing desk or taking walking meetings in between, but we also see sensors integrated into soles, for example, tracking your posture, as well as devices that you can wear. For example, one you can attach on your bag or you can clip it to your clothes. It also tracks your posture and reminds you not to slouch and keep standing up. For example, will vibrate in that case, depending on what measurements we use. But also just to show, like in terms of fabrics and what will be integrated in the future, people are looking for more healthy measurements that they can actually implement. But one very, very big factor, if you're thinking about the IoT and the market in this, is data security. So there's also big demand, of course, on the consumer side for data security. How is data handled? Can it be breached, etc.? That's something always to keep in mind if you're thinking about the IoT side. And then just to finish off with some more advanced sensors in the future, you can already digest certain sensors which are monitoring your glucose intake, for example. They are powered by stomach acid, bionic eyes, smart lenses, which are like helping your vision, as well as already chips you can implement. For example, in Sweden, they already have more than 4,000 people. They have those chips implemented, which just have vital information on them, like emergency contacts, blood type, etc., as well as neural implants, more futuristic. I'm sure that you heard also of Neuralink from Elon Musk, but also neural implants that you can implement, for example, that will help you regain certain functionalities like moving your arm or walking after you had an injury. So there's also endless possibilities on that side. If you're thinking about enhancing us and besides all those neural implants and other devices which helps us to be creative, if you're thinking about what really helps us think and where do we usually have most of our best ideas, there's a lot of studies that come up that the best ideas you have actually in the bathroom. And there's also scientific studies coupled with that like proving that in your solitude, when you have the time and things are blocked out, often a lot of us get like the best ideas in the shower or anywhere in the bathroom when we just have the time for ourselves. So companies are also using this in terms to market to consumers to create your home into a wellness oasis, something that is spa worthy in that case. Even Bed Bath & Beyond and other companies are really targeting towards this trend. Make your home into a spa oasis. And it's also something that accelerated as of last year, because maybe before we did take this luxury and we went to a spa or you went to our local gym that had a sauna, but this was cut last year and it still is for many of us. And in these times, more people are taking also care of their homes, either in terms of gardening, renovating their home, renovating their bathroom for the first time, putting wood on the floors, etc., but really making this a place they want to feel home and they are relaxed, because at the end of the day, it is often the place we are most creative, surprisingly. It doesn't stop again at the well-being oasis at home. but also in terms of the bathroom of the future, IoT in the bathroom, the smart scales, the smart mirrors, anything in the future being smart and interconnected, even the smart toilet, which can tell you before you know that you might be getting sick or something is wrong and can already alert your doctor in the future that something is not right. And also smart textiles, for example, having things not just on the smart mirror, but directly, for example, on your shower curtain, on your carpet, anywhere in the future also possible. Data, also a very big factor in the bathroom. There's already new gadgets coming up. Toothbrush, the electric toothbrush that can show you on your phone, actually, is there maybe an area in your mouth that you may be neglecting? A smart hairbrush, I think from L'Oreal. There's also a lot of companies already working on skin devices which are directly measuring not the water intake, but the moisture, and gives you analyzed feedback on, for example, products that you should use, as well as directly custom-made products for you. So on the left side, you can see custom 3D printed mask based on the vitals that you have with the scanner, and you can directly attach it to your phone. And then based on this, it's, I think, Neutrogena, they are printing those 3D masks for you, not perfectly fitting your face, but also have the nutrients that your skin requires. And there's a new company that started last year in Germany in collaboration with the Fraunhofer Institute, one of the biggest research centers in Germany. And they now have those pop-up cabins in different retail stores in Germany, where on site they're measuring the biomarkers in your skin, and it directly prints a customized skincare cream for your needs. And there's also a new segment in this, that there are a new market that things are not done in-house. They're also partnering with different retail stores, with other partners, with dermatologic offices in the country, where they can using this technology to then cater to their market. So also just to keep this in mind in terms of business in the future, it's this whole retail partner network that can be tapped into.
Alina, let's pause and take some questions. So a question raised is, are there any chips which can be embedded into a finished home textile product, which will provide the information or trigger an alarm into an apparatus like a mobile phone on bacteria or virus content of the product, or on the product needing, cleaning, sanitization, washing?
Technologically, it's definitely possible. If it's able to purchase, I'm not sure. But technologically, it shouldn't be difficult, to be honest.
Right. Another two questions. What's the maximum temperature sustaining range fabric available?
Wow, very hard-hitting questions. I have to say, I have to pass on this one.
Yeah, I think your presentation is triggering this next level question. So yeah,
I still have a business background, but yeah, they're very good questions.
Yeah. So the next question, please brief how to maintain the inside temperature of a 3D printed fabric clothing.
Wow. Okay, I also have to pass on this one. On the technical side, there are other experts, I think, who can help on the engineering details.
Yeah. Nonetheless, I think these questions are all food for thought, and it's nice to note the level of engagement from the audience. So we'll proceed.
No, but they are perfect questions, honestly, and I really encourage you to write them down, because what you're coming up with questions now, there might be actually opportunity in the market here that is worthwhile to pursue, or maybe it doesn't exist already as a solution in the market. As you said, maybe the tracker in the couch, maybe it does, but I doubt it. The technology is there. And if there is a potential, it's very easy to partner with either existing startups or different university labs that do have the technology knowledge to bring then those products on the market. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's more in terms of seeing where the industry heading. Most of the technology is already developed, but there can be new product segments coming out of them. And if you market them right, you can bring them to the market. So all of the questions are absolutely valuable to pursue now in the next week in your sprint.
That's right. There's a sustainability-driven question here. When you include sensors inside the fabric structure, how does it have an impact on the environment?
Yes, it does. And there are, depends on what kind of sensors. And there are some sensors which are possible to recycle in certain ways. So companies who do have sustainable, well, impact glasses on, they definitely would take care of this. There are others which don't have this positive impact. So it's really important to also rethink the whole value chain in that case.
Yeah, right.
Alina, I have a question.
Yes,
Sure.
go ahead.
Yeah. See, is there sensors or implements available which can, I can say, change the human mental state at that point of time? Means somebody is, suppose, feeling unhappy, right? So there are some sensors which either vibrate or give some pulse to mind to change his state of unhappiness to happiness. Or suppose somebody's mood is not right for that moment, so that mood also can be, I can say, first is monitored and second is I can say controlled, or I can say as per desire maintained. Is it possible by the sensors and implements?
Well, it's not as easy as being from unhappy to happy, but there are different sensors. For example, there's a headband which helps you to focus more. It claims it helps you to focus more. Voice recognition becomes more and more powerful, that there are technologies already in market which can hear the different nuances in your tone. Are you stressed? Are you upset? Are you anxious? And then provides feedback to you, either in terms of playing you different songs or changing the color around you. And it keeps measuring your vitals. So it will also learn, for example, what song has, for example, a soothing effect on you. So there are technologies in the market which are trying to, based on your real life vitals, to give you more input, but it's still an early market in that case. It's not that easy to go directly to the happy state, but there's more feedback driven technologies that are coming up.
Okay, thank you.
Alina, this smart textile armband, is it available in the market?
So which armband?
The one that you showed in the presentation, the smart textile armband, the one that you said that you can use?
There were so many. Which one?
Okay. So which one are you?
All of them are in the market. Everything that I showed is in the market.
Everything is on. Okay. Right. Okay. So let's proceed.
Okay. So just to close off on with the beauty segment, beyond, let's say, testing just biomarkers in store to have your customized cream, there's also new companies going like a step further in terms of genomics and AI that are some customers definitely skeptical about with reason. But based on like those DNA kits that are being tested, you can also have more customized skincare. For example, it's a company, this is the one that features a company in Singapore that's working on this, but there's a couple of companies in this segment as well. What is also a very big factor to understand from the business side, that there's more and more crowd-led innovation. Actually, companies trying to include the consumer feedback for new product developments, easy as engaging the community and crowd. I'm sure you already heard some of the XO attributes, how to engage them more for new products that they're wishing for. But also this is a company in the cosmetics field where consumers can directly submit an idea for new cosmetics. And if those are winning concepts, they also go to market and the profit is being shared with the creators. Plus everyone who is involved in the community to contribute, they're also earning them points, for example, by engaging in different posts and discussion. And the points, again, they can also redeem afterwards for exclusive awards or for products in that case. So there's a more and more bigger trend also to more include the end consumer for new innovation and also for new products coming on the market beyond just co-design the shoe, towel, or whatever it might be. So one step further, if you're still thinking about our IoT bathroom, our AR-powered smart mirrors, either that you can have at home and it will well, greet you with all kinds of information and give you live feedback. That's also used in the e-commerce sector, either in stores where you can try on but via the AR mirror, let's say, different makeups, different sunglasses, different clothes. Plus, it gives also the real estate giants a lot of consumer insights and data for demographics, etc., which are also very helpful for future product innovation and decisions to make. And not just in terms of trying on yourself, but also in terms of commerce. For example, on the right side, it's again from IKEA, a lot of examples from their side, where with the AR and your phone, you can directly see how will this item look in my living room, or how will this bathtub or whatever furniture it might be, it's another company, actually look in my house. So there's more and more services how you can directly interact through AR with new products you would like to purchase, and how would it actually already look like in your home, which of course helps the consumer in the buying decision. The phone. And then the next step is
Alina,
yes.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Sure.
Like we can see the product, how it will look like, but is there any way to feel the product, how it will look like?
Not yet.
Not understood. Like suppose I am sending you a picture of fabric, but your mobile or any device should give you output, and that output you can touch and feel what I am inputting here.
And there's like the lab secretively working on this, not I'm aware of. What you can feel is, let's say, vibrations which are transmitted. What if you are touching this, I can feel the same time that you are touching this at that location, but not the touch of the fabric. Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I was thinking like some intelligent fabric, and that here when I'm putting the fabric, there is a sensor which senses it, and that intelligent fabric you are having, which can change its feel as per the input given from here, so that you can feel if I'm changing here.
You have a real innovator's mind. You know, this might even be possible now that I think about it. If the other consumer has the same smart fabric who can adjust.
Yes,
maybe.
Same smart fabric he should be having. Then any fabric I am changing here, he should be able to feel what I am trying to show or make him feel.
Well, in that case, yes, because it's not even what you are touching. You just would in that give the input to the smart fabric which is wherever it is, and then changes the structure. In that case, it's not, you don't even have to touch it. You just give the input, make it soft, make it this.
How it came to my mind, I saw a car which can extend its width and I can say contract it again. So and there also I saw a car.
Yes.
I saw the video of that car Blondie video on YouTube. There was a car which can contract and expand, and the texture on the side of wheel was expanding and contracting. So that's why I felt that there could be or should be a smart fabric. If you give an input, it should contract or expand.
Possibly.
And then you can feel it.
What would be the use? But yes.
Great thinking, Arvind. Keep entertaining that thought. And I think I would urge Alina to continue with the presentation.
Sure. So just then, if you're thinking about finalizing the e-commerce side, it's not just that you custom made, can 3D print or have it made for you personalized in the store or at home. It's also the delivery of the items in the future. There's a lot of companies already, especially now with COVID last year, accelerating the drone delivery market, accelerated actually in terms of more the sad side, in terms of having blood samples and medicine quickly supplied, especially in regions. Rwanda really pioneered this, by the way, last year, but also in the future that you can have your coffee easily delivered and other things, and they're coming in a heartbeat. It still needs always special requests from the local municipalities and regulations, but there's more and more companies also testing and piloting delivery of other items. So finalizing on the fabric and fashion and garment side, now just heading over a bit to the paper side. So despite that we are living in the digital age, there is still, as from studies I've seen, at least from McKinsey, an increase of demand in the paper industry. What is so to consider is the segments are shifting in terms of, let's say, tissues, etc. Segments are shifting, and if you are able to foresee which sectors, there is an opportunity to tap into this, especially when we're looking into new packaging, which is also on one side government driven, but a lot very consumer driven, looking for sustainable packaging. Paper straws is a big thing. Like normal straws or plastic straws are often banned now, luckily in many places around the world, but also sustainable packaging, food packaging, for example, where it's then maybe a hybrid between plastic and paper. But at the end of the day, and we have this here in Switzerland, if you buy your lunch box, as you can actually see it on the package, at the end you just remove the plastic and the rest you can put into the paper bin. So you really help to recycle the rest of the packaging. There's also Carbo, the paper and part of companies paper package bottles. As well as smart packaging in the future to have tags again integrated also into packages. So there's also another big factor in the smart packaging. In terms of the paper sector and increase actually in paper pulp printing for recyclable items, even flower pots, as well as lamps, which are made and other items in this sector. And in the global wheat straw pulp market, just a study that was launched now this year, 21. Of course, Trident also here with being the leader. It's a market that's about to grow tremendously up to 2026. So there's a very positive outlook on this market in general, but I'm sure you're very knowledgeable about this field. What is interesting to consider, though, is the digital revolution that will play in the paper industry and the opportunity that comes out of this. So it's again a study from McKinsey from 2019, and they are predicting there's a lot of opportunities in the transformation in terms of artificial intelligence, analytics, automation, the whole process to digitize the industry. It's really important not to miss out and also to understand what are the technologies that are digitizing this industry and how to leverage and benefit from this moving forward. And here, another example on the forest economy. It's again blockchain driven. I just would like to mention that I think it's a very interesting use case. It's actually tree tokens, well, blockchain based, but tree tokens. And the whole initiative is to reforest Paraguay. So with the tree tokens that you buy, you're actually getting, well, you're investing and you're even getting in field back your returns. 90% of the financial returns of the wood that they are selling, so they're selling the hardwood of the trees, 90% of the returns go back to you, and 10% which are donated for other initiatives. Plus, they're really trying to build a healthy ecosystem to financially incentivize the local community to reforest actually, well, Paraguay in this case. So there's this huge social initiative behind this. And this whole tokenization of new things makes things in the financial market very, very interesting to also be involved in other sustainable and impactful measurements around the world. Sustainable finance in general is something that has been growing. More and more consumers are very focused on climate change, reducing the carbon footprint, and want to be more involved, not just in terms of buying clothes and things out of recycled plastic, but also investing in this case. And what is really interesting is to see the ESG funds actually outperformed during COVID, the S&P 500. And this is another study recently from Morgan Stanley in terms of sustainable finance, and people, what they're most interested about actually in terms of funding this future and funding corporates who are present in this future, for example, with an ESG focus. Primarily, it is the plastic reduction, climate change, but also community development has a very big focus. And I think that's a very interesting thing to keep in mind. We're coming to the end, so good in time. Just would like to finish off if you're thinking about technologies briefly, what impact this also has on the future of work. So there's more breakthroughs in technology, but there's also a new shift that is happening of tasks which are performed by humans and machines together, for example, different AI algorithms, but at the end of the day, making the workplace safer and better for the humans. There's also a study from World Economic Forum, a lot talks about this, and there is this fear of jobs will decrease, and yes, some jobs will not exist, but the equal amount of jobs will actually exist, so will balance itself out. It's more here to understand the opportunity that we have to work together with new machines and algorithms, but which makes the life of the worker much easier and better and really augments it. For example, for medicine in the medical field, that you work with the AI, which can read scans much faster than you, but they always still need the collaboration with the human because there are different skills that computers cannot take over yet. It's leadership skills, it's social skills. So it's more the augmentation also in the industry, where you have, for example, already robot exoskeleton, which helps take off the heavy lifting in the industry, or yet you have VR goggles in the industry, which help the humans more with diagnostics. It's more the empowerment by technology, and also to be ahead of the curve to empower the workers by technology to actually be ahead of the game and make their life better. That's just like another graphic from the World Economic Forum, how they're predicting the rate of automation between humans and machines. And you can see by 2025, it's like pretty much 50-50. And if you're looking at intelligence, people so often are very afraid of AI. Also understandably, we are still today in the field of assisted intelligence, but we are quickly moving in the future into augmented autonomous intelligence, even up to training machines more to really take over very intelligent tasks. So there's also a huge shift happening in the whole AI industry, and automating our tasks easier with others.
Please mute your phones. Please mute your phones, everybody.
So if you're looking at the opportunity which comes out of automation, if you're thinking about the productivity growth from the steam engine, over 60 years, the growth was only productivity-wise 0.3%. But it's predicted that based on automation, productivity will grow yearly up to 1.4%. So it also has a very huge impact to consider in terms of the industrialization. What I mentioned a bit earlier is that we are though in an area of co-creation. It's not necessary to
Rahul?
others.
Rahul, could you please mute your phone?
Otherwise, let me mute all. And okay, that's okay.
No problem. Is to have an open mind for co-creation. You might think, wow, many of the technologies, they're so far off, but we don't know about sensors and this and that. There is no need, because there's a huge ecosystem to tap into, to work with startups, to work with labs, to bring new innovations to the market. And I know you're now in the phase of experimenting, like in the exploration phase, to explore different technologies in the market, and they might see far off, but with the right partner, with the right marketing strategy, you can really bring it into the market. Wait, Rahul, you want to say something?
Rahul, please mute. Rahul.
I'm muting all. So, Alina, you can unmute yourself and talk.
Okay, good. I found it. Difficult with the screen share to find the buttons. So no, just the unmuting doesn't work, but okay, let's go further. So besides, just to keep in mind for co-creation, like there is a huge ecosystem for you to tap into, and there are partners to work with who have the technological knowledge. And those startups and other companies, they are always looking actually for corporate partners also to bring new things to the markets. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's more to understand where is the problem in the market that you might identify with consumers, and how can we cater to this problem? And I'm sure there will be a multitude of solutions you can come up with. And it's also not going to be a straight line of success. It never is. Like here's like an excellent picture if you're looking into, let's say, at the startup industry, how they usually show you the success looks like. It's a lot of reiterating, and I'm sure you will still experiment during the sprint with this build, measure, learn, and cycle, where you go back to the drawing board based on the consumer feedback that you get, and then reiterate it, and then quickly adjust it. But that's really the journey of any product life cycle or other services that you're bringing to the market, learning from it, adjusting, and then moving forward. So you're really in for like a super exciting ride over the next weeks. And very important also, passion and purpose. And I mentioned this a bit earlier, not just for employees and to align with the MVP. And I love the slogan of Trident, really. I think you're already off to a great start with that. But also what consumers are identifying with. Consumers are not just identifying with, for example, with IKEA for the cheap furniture or affordable furniture, which can be hard to assemble, but really for the circular economy mission that they're really creating a lot of initiatives. It's also what you're standing up for, like what companies to support, because it's more and more important to consumers what the companies are standing for. Are they using sustainable materials, etc.? Are they standing for recycling? And what other measurements are they providing to really have a positive impact on our future and for our children? So it's also something that can be used actually of social expectations that people have to make this into a strength of the company, which can be incorporated into the values of the company, what the company stands for. What is becoming very big, for example, is data privacy and data security, sustainable factors. Those are all things that a company can publicly stand up for and really make this actually as a strength in terms of new developments going forward. So I'm already at the end of my presentation. To all of you, the time to shape the future is now. I think you are actually living, all of us are living actually in the most exciting times we can be in. There's so many technology innovations coming up and so many opportunities to really utilize them, to leverage them and create a positive impact, how we would like to have our future and the planet to look like for our people following us. So thanks to everyone. You feel free to connect with me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm the only one with that name. Shoot me an email. But we still have some time, like now, if anyone would like to jump in and share something or ask anything, like the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Alina. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to raise. Dia, do you have something to say? Would you like to say something, Dia?
Now everyone is muted.
No.
You can unmute.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you, Zahira.
Yes. Now is the time to unmute and talk. It's all good.
Now can I finally see you as well?
Hey.
Ah, nice to see Dea again.
Very, very informative session, though, Alina. I mean, it's very interesting.
Thank you.
For that.
And I'm sure you will dive much deeper also in this now in the exploration phase. I just wanted us to widen a bit your horizon, like where are we heading in the future? And there's no limit to it because the technology is here and it just takes the right partners to define the right problems and bring solutions to the market.
Yeah, that's right. So there was an observation by somebody. iPhone is whose iPhone? Who sent a text from iPhone? Would you like to talk about your observation and suggestion? Could you unmute?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes, Alina. Hi, Alina. I have the suggestions, and the question is that in the paper industry, if we talk about, then we always see that, yes, it is from the wood pulp or from, you can say that a similar kind of sources. And okay, fine, there is you can say that chain will be there where the people, they will be getting funded and then be making the forest. It's another planning. Can we have like what we talk about in the textile part, that there will be a lot of recycling of the fabric. The fabric, when we go for the recycling, there's a pulp also. And that pulp also contains a certain fibers. The fibers are having different kind of strength, which may not be suitable for the paper industry. Is it possible to use that pulp for the paper industry where the strength of the paper for the final usage doesn't matter or is not much needed? Let us say that tissue paper, let us say some other, the strength is not much needed, whereas, it's a paper. So it is just one sort of question as well as suggestion that how we can go away from the wood pulp or the forest or from the wood for the paper industry. That is the only thing what I wanted to put up over here. Hope I am clear.
Yeah, there are innovations in the market to look at alternatives, but either cost-wise or efficiency-wise, they're not replacing the current industry yet. But who knows, like with the technology speed that we are developing, who knows how the future might look like.
Right. Does anybody?
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Does anybody else have any observations, comments? Anything resonated for you?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I am RG. Thank you very much for a very, very exciting and excellent session. And I was just listening and watching. I think it's a great eye-opener, but there's a gap between imaginative way of doing things, and there are some. So I don't know how much time will take to be at a level of those kind of R&D and those kind of product development. I have yet to assess the total team capacity but it's a great imaginative. It has really given the flight to the mind.
So RG, just a comment from my side. I think much of this is today we are living in an open source world. If you really look at it, there's a lot of communities, a lot of open source. So the movement is really a lot more democratic and not to an extent of like the industrial age when we had a lot of IPs and patents and people are holding on to it. So many of them can actually be put together much easier as compared to what it was possible maybe 10 or 15 years ago. So yeah, I mean, of course, needs to be explored in deeper this thing as the teams carry on with their sprint project identification. But certainly those are some of the feasibility elements they will check on. It's a great point.
Yes, great MG, great initiatives, great thoughts. Very great. I think we have really extend our thought to really give the supply to our minds.
Thank you.
And you rightly said it is all as an open course, a democratic way of doing things. And we all individually or collectively have to find a way how we present ourselves to the market or to the consumer.
Right, right. I mean, that's the most important thing. That's what we are doing today as we are coaching the teams. I'm saying, look at the future, explore at this stage. Don't worry about what is happening today inside Trident or what is possible, not possible. Let's look at the future and then work backwards and make it possible. But we get dragged, typically into what is there, what is not possible and so on. But that's a change. That's what exactly will happen courtesy the sprint. And that's a culture hack we are doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. It's really like an open innovation ecosystem that we live with. Like IKEA now launching this air purifying curtains. They're not developing this in-house. They're partnering with existing R&D labs or startups who have the technology, but anyone could launch those product lines because now the technology is on the market. It just takes someone to partner with the existing providers and then bring needed products that are solving real problems to the market and market it accordingly. So not just to see like, what do we have? Trident could be the smart fabric product line in the future in a sustainable manner. So the possibilities are really endless in this innovation ecosystem that we are living today.
I think this whole thing about how do you use different fabrics and excite people about the look and feel of different fabrics can be quite an interesting opportunity. For example, just a wild thought that with every towel that we sell or with every sheet that we sell, if we put a patch of different fabrics that can be possible, a sustainable fabric or a performance fabric or a no water usage fabric, it just gives the brand that lift that we have the capability of doing different fabrics and giving it directly to you. It is particularly good. There is a particularly good fit with our emerging e-com business if we are able to do that. It's just a thought. Yeah.
But also the track and trace, very important here. Like people are very conscious today.
Yeah.
Where did my avocado grow and my coffee, and where they paid the right salary, and similar as you saw the example of the circular ID, who made the yarn at the end and how are they treated in the company. It's more and more important to the end consumer, and new technologies are setting like the game for transparency in this case. And the technology, again, it's available, and there are very intelligent ways and ideas to like actually build around this and integrate this.
Yes, but that almost everybody is on that journey. All the big companies are on the journey of, farm to table or farm to bed. You can trace everything. So Trident is also on that journey. So that's that, and over time that will become table stakes. That you just have to do that.
Yes, it's a must actually these days.
Right. Does anybody else have any comments, any observations? Alina, you must know the chat is imploding with appreciative feedback for your session.
Thank you.
Also, it would be great if you could get an access to this to the presentation. Like to go over it again because you probably absorb better second time around. Yeah.
We will try and do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, recording should be possible to make available.
I think that will be great. Yeah.
Yeah. The recording.
We will share the recording. Yes. Yeah. Right. Okay. So people are still saying informative session, great session. So you've done good, Alina. I think you've triggered the thinking process. It's food for thought. Jyoti, do you have something to say? Jyoti, would you like to come off mute? Say something.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that the purpose of the session was broad, the future of, rather than deep into any one technology. As you know, and Alina rightly, passed all those questions which were deep into technology. That is part of our design. For that, we have advisory calls. We've noted these questions down and we've saved the chat. So we will, each of the coaches will work with the teams to decide what technology, particularly material science, nanomaterials, etc., or whatever else came up today, for a deeper technical dive. She's doing the futurism part of it. So, one is a horizontal session, the other are vertical and deep. So just for the question that got passed, that's the context.
And it's great to see it. There's already deep thinking coming from where I couldn't see who's speaking, but really shows like the innovator's mind. And some of you already can see based on the questions that you're thinking ahead, like what could come to the market. But yeah, there are advisory calls for this with people who then have, depending on the technology, the real in-depth experience. But for anything else, if you would like to connect, you're always welcome to reach out to me.
Right. So from the circular economy to the forest economy, I think you've kind of laid it all bare. Thank you very much on behalf of everybody, Alina. We appreciate you giving us this time. Thank you, everybody.
And have fun now the next week. It's really a super, super exciting journey. So you're in for a super exciting ride.
Thanks, Alina. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.